Show your bling and let me shine you.
Hello and welcome back to the Sly 2 Any% Speedrun tutorial. In this second part, Beaver and I will cover the game's first episode, the Black Chateau, as well as the gadget routes we will be using in the run. This series is geared towards the full game Any% run, so we won't discuss strats unique to independent episode runs, but there is a lot of overlap. Although we recommend the prologue level Cairo to be learned later on, it will be presumed that you've seen everything up until Cairo from the last part, so go back and watch that if you haven't. There are cheat codes linked in the description which can help you warp to episode 1 if needed, but these aren't allowed in runs. Now let's get started. Entering the episode will put us in a long cutscene which is unskippable. During this cutscene, plug in your controller so that we can perform a trick that will be coming up afterward. In full game runs, the community uses start episode splits to fill the time between each episode, or in this case between Cairo and episode 1. This is so that episode and segment times match up between full game and individual episode runs. After the intro cutscenes, mash circle or X to immediately select Sly and split when you do so. After selecting Sly, another cutscene starts where Sly climbs to the roof of the safe house. Before he pulls up his Binocucom to talk to Bentley, there's a single frame where we're able to pause. By unplugging the controller before the cutscene starts, we can make this easy by forcing the game to pause while it searches for a controller. Unplugging at the right time will allow the controller to reconnect right as the pause menu opens, so we don't lose any time waiting to reconnect. How long it takes to automatically reconnect varies from controller to controller and console to console, so you'll have to play around with what works for you. For example, Beaver disconnects when Sly jumps from the pipe, whereas I disconnect when Sly stops moving on the roof. You can also disconnect wirelessly by holding down the PS button, turning off the controller, and then turning it back on, but this will save a bit less time. Once the game is paused, go down once and select Exit to Episode menu, then down once again to confirm. This allows us to completely escape the cutscene, then mash circle on Korean, X otherwise to re-enter Episode 1, and do the same to select Sly after the load. Square boost forwards off the entrance to the safe house and follow this path to the job trigger. Here and everywhere else, we want to run in straight lines and take corners as tight as possible. Now we've come to our first job trigger, Satellite Sabotage. This job, like many others, starts with a Binocucom cutscene. If you enter the trigger normally, an animation plays where Sly takes out his Binocucom before the actual cutscene begins. But if we enter the trigger during a mid-air cane swing, like in a square boost, this animation is skipped. So with Sly job triggers that trigger a Binocucom cutscene, we want to square boost into them. For this trigger, square boost into the right side so we're in an optimal position for afterward. If you happen to miss a square boost towards the trigger and aren't in it yet, single jump and cane swipe down. After the cutscene, we have to get to the top of this water tower. Climbing is slower than jumping, so we generally want to jump as high as we can before attaching onto vertical pipes or ropes. Here we can use this rooftop. Just past this little curb, you can do a curled glitch high jump up to the roof, and then do another glitch high jump and grab onto the pipe. This allows you to get all the way to the top without any climbing at all. Alternatively, you can square boost onto this car and then double jump onto the roof, but this is a bit slower. From the top of the pipe, single jump off and hit circle to interact with the satellite. The interaction radius of these satellites is really big, so you can hit circle as soon as you land on the roof. After the animation, run around the corner of the satellite and square boost down to the roof. Square in midair makes Sly fall faster, so we do this after the square boost. Continue across this roof up onto the top of this window and square boost to the bridge. Then just continue a square boost to cut corners. Stick to the left of this roof and double jump and spam circle to grab the next satellite immediately when we land. The square boost onto the bridge is over a gap, so if you aren't comfortable, you can just run to the left and onto it like this. If you happen to fall down to the street at any point, you can glitch high jump onto this thing above the door and then again to the roof. Hold right out of the second satellite and just run off this elevated section. Then square boost on, square boost off. From this point, our optimal line of movement will depend on how we do the next section. The fastest recommended strat runs like this, and then square boosts onto the archway and then onto the roof. The easier strat aims a bit further left, and then just runs normally onto the archway. Technically, the optimal strat runs onto the archway normally and then does this square boost to the left of this window, but nobody does this and it isn't recommended, as it isn't really worth it. Once we're on the final roof, just run to the satellite. Hit the antenna before we get there and spam circle to interact. This brings us to the end of our first job. After each job, a job complete screen will play, which is when we split. The community standard is to split on the white flash that happens here, but as long as you split at the same point every time, you can choose any visual or audio cue in the job complete screen that works for you.
Next we'll head to breaking and entering. After this cutscene, hold down right and square boost off this roof. Run over here and hit this fence to drop down into the job trigger. This trigger is pretty weird and is really easy to miss, so you want to switch to holding down as you drop onto it, so Sly falls into it directly. You'll load into this cutscene with Murray in the wine cellar. Afterward, we have to get rid of several rats with Murray's help. Murray's attacks deal twice the amount of damage as Sly's, making him able to defeat guards in 2 hits instead of Sly's 4. So we are going to rely on Murray for this section, and do our part to set the rats up for him. Optimally, we do this by first running around the gate to the leftmost rat, and then perform a double hit, by swinging once with square and then triangle once the rat has been knocked back. You have to do the second hit with triangle because you're only supposed to be able to hit a guard once in this time span. However, we have to be careful with the timing of our triangle attack, because if the rat is able to begin bouncing back from the knockdown, they will damage Sly with their get up attack. Double hits are not incredibly precise, but they're definitely tricky and require a good feel over Sly and the timing on the rat's animations. With this first rat, we want to double hit him directly back, then continue to the next rat and double hit him into this wall. We then jump on top of this box to remove ourselves from the fight and let Murray deal with it, so be careful to not hit the rat into an area that will prevent you from standing here comfortably. But before continuing, we have to first go over table clipping. As we know, Sly's charge attack works while jumping, but it also does when crawling under tables. If we press and hold square beside a crawl space and press circle shortly after the square input, Sly will enter the crawl space but also attempt to do a charge attack while inside it. This causes Sly to stand up, but since he's in the crawl space, he can't fit, so Sly is spat out, often with high speed. This is called a table clip. In breaking and entering at this table, we can use a table clip to send us forward and clip through that gate in front of us, with the intention of ending up in this hallway. If done at the correct time, when Murray is locked onto the final rat and about to kill them, we can skip the cutscene where Murray lifts the gate for Sly, saving 20 to 25 seconds. Since Murray is scripted to follow us, going too early will result in rats left inside, and you'll have to do this really scuffed backup where you fight them through the wall. But if you go too late, then the cutscene will play. For the sake of timing this skip, watch Murray and the rats instead of just facing the table. Your camera will automatically change to looking forward once you've clipped the table. For this table clip especially, make sure to not let go of square too early. With most table clips, you can just keep holding square for the whole clip, which makes it easier. This table clip gives way more momentum than we need to just end up in the hallway. So the trick here is in controlling the launch from the table. There are a few different methods of performing this trick. We are going to cover the most commonly used one, which has 2 slight variations. For this method, we clip the table, and once Sly is clipped through the gate, we hold directly back on the left stick and mash X, which will cancel Sly's momentum with a backward jump. This method can result in a few different outcomes, which we will go over. From the first burst of speed, it can take Sly as few as 5 frames to clip through the gate, and then as few as 3 frames for him to completely pass through the hallway to beyond it. This makes it impractical to pull back and mash X off of reaction time, so this is a trick which has to be timed completely through muscle memory and repetition. This trick does not have a frame window that narrow to actually perform it, but different timings will result in different outcomes. Outcome 1 is ideal, being the fastest. You perfectly time your X input and backwards movement, canceling your momentum within the hallway. Outcome 2 is also good and is more typical. You're just a touch late to perfection, causing you to launch upwards. But you're over or nearly over the desired hallway, so just control your fall and land in it. With any outcome where you're airborne, you have to frequently hit square in order to prevent Sly from being warped back to the table, which would put you right into the cutscene. You have to do it often, but you don't need to mash. With outcome 3, you're a bit later than outcome 2, which causes you to be in the air a bit further forward. But if you land in this offshoot hallway, you can recover it. Run to this corner and mash circle to enter a table on the far side. Then backtrack past the lasers to where outcome 1 ends up. This is because there is a trigger here that will despawn Murray. If this trigger isn't completed, the next one never activates, and you will be unable to progress in the job. Basically, you need to complete step A before you can complete step B. This is called chain triggers, and these are present throughout the vast majority of the game, generally preventing us from completing massive sequence breaks, like you'll see in the first Sly game or many other speedruns. This also leads us to outcome 4, which is completely undesirable because of chain triggers. If your X inputs and your pullback are way too late, you end up further than the first 2 hallways. And if we're distantly separated from the trigger, we are soft locked. A soft lock can also occur from missing the map completely. If you're completely new, feel free to just leave this out of your runs, but play around with it and work toward adding it later. Not doing table clip as a beginner has the added benefit of providing a coin farming opportunity, as you can pretty easily scavenge around 25 coins in this rat fight. This is helpful as beginners tend to also struggle with coin farming, which we'll get more into later. There is also a slightly different table clip technique, where the charge attack is cancelled by releasing square early, but after Sly has clipped the table. This grants more consistency at getting the primary desirable outcomes, 1 or 2. The one I showed before is just an easier variation of this that doesn't release square. Here you need to hold square for long enough to clip the table, but release it after, so that you don't see the charge attack come out. With this technique, Sly should never be seen standing with his cane wound up and charged, and you should also never see a spin attack. This requires releasing square between frame 25 and 30 of holding it, giving you 1/10 of a second to release it. In the description, we've also linked a video from Gnist detailing how the PAL versions can abuse their unique frame rate to make table clip much easier. Here's a few clips of the rat fight and table clip with different outcomes in full.
And finally, we should be in this hallway. If you watched the cutscene, just double jump over the gate after it concludes. After getting the trigger that despawns Murray, avoid the laser and then ensure that Bentley begins talking right around here. You need to listen to the game as there's no other way to indicate if you got this trigger. The scrolling text at the top is irrelevant and will play anyways. If Bentley isn't talking, but there's no sign of Murray, run around for a few seconds and wait for him. After the Bentley trigger, optimally you would stand on the right side of this table, face slide to the left, and do a table clip, which should spit you to the other side of the laser fence. This table clip is weird and saves a very small amount, so we recommend most runners just crawl under the table normally. The second table can also be clipped, and it's much easier, so everyone should attempt this one. If you accidentally end up underneath either table, just crawl normally. Also, make sure to pay attention to your health since these clips require taking damage. In this hall, we have to get past these guards without being seen, or else we'll fail the job. Single jump onto this table, where we can stand without the guard seeing us. With any guard, you can stand in the fainter edge of their light without being seen. From the table, do a delayed double jump around the gate to land outside the light. You want to double jump here because if you glitch high jump, you'll bonk on the ceiling. Also avoid bonking against the bottle on the table, but this can be recovered. Once past the light, run forward back into the hallway. It is faster to square boost onto the table before doing your double jump, but this is risky. Also, since this hits the bottle and makes noise, the guard will be moving around. So after the double jump, you want to square boost again so you can continue silently instead of running. Alternatively, you can R1 tap, which just refers to repeatedly tapping the R1 button while moving. This allows us to move faster than walking while also being silent, because we are only ever briefly in a running state. For this next guard, our strategy will change depending on the cycle. The guard looks left and then right on a consistent loop. Depending on our speed up until this point, and also our version speed, he will be at a different stage of this. If the guard is facing away from us when we approach him, we can run up to him along the right wall and hit him to knock him out. Then get onto the elevated platform and crawl into it normally. It's important with this to be close to the right wall, or else the guard will spot you before you're able to hit him, but don't rub hard against it, as you'll slow down or even get stuck. If the guard is instead facing toward us, or in the process of turning this way, jump and spiral dive to get its attention. Then do a glitch high jump over his light. You can do this from pretty much any angle in the hall, but be careful of the curved walls so that you don't bonk. Once past the guard, he will turn quickly if he hears us running, so it's recommended to R1 tap or square boost to exit the guard's radius silently. But it is possible with a clean lure and jump to be able to run beyond him. Then crawl through the vent. With this next guard, run up behind him and hit triangle twice to juggle him into the lasers while running. For the next laser wall, depending on the cycle, you can either double jump over them or run through this gap. Then juggle this guard as well. Run and then square boost onto the stage, break the vent cover, and then do a table clip into the vent. Make sure to wait until your first cane swing animation ends before you press square again to hold it. This sends us into the trigger for the next area. It is a possibility to miss the trigger and go flying into the void, so if the risk isn't worth saving a few seconds, you can just crawl normally. After the load, run to the second window from the left and open the Binocucom. Slide 2 will not buffer any inputs out of loads, so you have to wait until after a load is completed to start holding R1 for running. We have to take pictures, and first up is Dimitri. Zoom in to about this close, and mash R1 to take the picture as soon as possible, which is after Bentley stops talking. Then, look right and zoom in to take the generator picture. Notice how the game zoomed out automatically after the picture. It will do this every time. For the last picture, look down and use max zoom or close to it. After this job, as he often will, Bentley will have a slideshow where he goes over the plan. By resetting the game, just quitting and reopening, we can skip these cutscenes. As we discussed in part 1, your console and whether you have an HDD or SSD will result in different game reset speeds. So for unoptimal setups, it's not always worth it to reset the game. Here's a guide for whether you should reset the game for specific Bentley slideshows in episode 1, but it's strongly encouraged to time your own resets to be certain if it's faster. In the description, we have linked Remo's video on optimizing PS3 resets. If you're playing on NTSC-U, 7 seconds can be saved on each reset by setting the console to any of these languages, for a total of 3 minutes and 51 seconds saved across the run. The game will be in English, but it will skip the health and safety warnings that plays each time the game is launched. Before resetting, we have to wait for the game to autosave our progress. Through experience, you gain a feel for the right time to reset, but it can be done consistently by using natural reaction time to hold down the PS button after the 4th checkmark has appeared in the job complete animation. This means the hold begins shortly before the bass notes that we hear. Watch the bottom right portion of the screen and ensure that you see at least some part of the black bar that accompanies the autosave logo before you quit the game. Even a little bit on the right side is enough on PS3. If you've opened the PS menu and didn't see any of the black bar, just close it and reopen with a new hold. It is much better to be safe than sorry here. Slide 2 doesn't save progress mid-job, so quitting too early would be really bad. After quitting the game, wait until the PS3 menu begins to fade in, and mash X to re-enter the game. Don't mash continuously throughout a reset, as you heighten the risk of crashing the console. On PS2, use the reset button on the console, but you have to wait a few extra seconds, and only reset after Bentley's slideshow has fully begun playing. The PS2 likes to corrupt save data, so you have to be careful. If your data still corrupts, try resetting even later. After the Sony Entertainment Presents screen disappears, mash Start to skip through the opening cutscene and continue the game.
Then we'll head to Bug Dimitri's office. From the load, mash circle on Korean or X otherwise to select Sly. Here we don't have enough room to get a running start to a square boost, so single jump and then cane swing off this balcony forward and to the right. Quickly turn your camera to the left and direct it to behind Sly. Run backwards and square boost into the job trigger. We turn the camera in this manner because in Sly 2, guards generally spawn in the direction that the camera is facing. We can abuse this by managing our camera in such a way that we can control where guards spawn, and also where they will not. This is called guard spawn manipulation, or GSM. If we run with our camera facing away from where we are trying to go, we can generally prevent any guards from spawning in our path. This might give you the idea of pointing the camera at the ground or the sky to prevent guards from spawning at all, but this is unreliable in sections where we move around and doesn't work everywhere, so you could get a bad guard anyways. The game has to spawn some guards, so it's better to try to spawn guards elsewhere so that they won't spawn in our path. Running around with the camera backwards or at a strange angle requires knowledge of the map layout and comfort with Sly's movement, but it's really worth getting used to, as this is an incredibly useful technique and a foundational element of the speedrun. We're going to use this a lot. With Bug Dimitri's office, a guard will spawn in the street if you don't GSM, which will lose time in the route and place you in a really dangerous position for the job, as you need to deliver the painting without taking any damage.
After the cutscene, hold upright to head towards Dimitri's nightclub. If you mess up and happen to have a guard with you in the cutscene, let him hit you immediately after the cutscene completes, and then run away with your iframes, which is short for invincibility frames, and is signaled by the red around Sly. The damage won't harm the painting until it lands on Sly's back. Head through the plaza and then down this street. A guard can potentially spawn up here, so we want to GSM again, either directly backwards or at least to the left like this. The second option is a lot easier to do, but it's a tiny bit less consistent. It also makes it difficult to run optimally because your camera will get messed up by the building. This is a pretty minor issue, so if you're doing the second option, just space yourself from the wall a bit and trade a tiny amount of time. At about this point, you can turn your camera normal again. Square boost onto the hood of the car and then double jump up to the patio. Single jump onto the back of this chair, and then glitch high jump up to grab the glass platform. If you're struggling with landing on the chair, it'll just come with time. If you happen to break the chair, you can glitch high jump off of the flower bed, or do a faster version of the casual way where you run or jump along the wall sneak. Then hit circle to enter through the nightclub's window. On the glass platform, you want to run for just a bit before pressing circle because Sly can try to attach to the wall sneak instead. After the load, run and then square boost into a cutscene trigger that's at the top of the stairs to skip the Bentley animation. After the cutscene, square boost down to the floor and run across to the right of the door. Square boost or jump onto this railing, and then do a curled glitch high jump to ledge grab this platform. You want to jump out and then move back in over the course of your glitch high jump. By jumping more to the left toward the top platform, it's possible to make it without a ledge grab with a clean jump. On top of the platform, swing at the vent and then enter it with circle. Do not ever table clip this vent, as you will softlock. Although we've seen the capabilities of table clipping, it's often a really bad idea, so we'll always mention when you should use it. Crawl through the vent normally and then drop into Dimitri's office. Spam circle to swap out the painting, which is the end of the job. Next up is follow Dimitri, which is near the safe house. By simply reloading our file, we can effectively warp back to the safe house and cut out a lot of travel time. We will be doing this frequently throughout the run. In these circumstances where we load, immediately pause the game after the job complete screen, and then go down to options, which is 2 down from the start. While the game is auto-saving, the menu won't allow us to scroll the options, so just wait. Once it's hovered, you can just mash circle on Korean or X otherwise to load your file. Slide 2 auto-selects the top file, which is why it's important to always run on our top save slot. From the load, mash to select Sly. Run down this ramp while keeping your camera perspective as we need to GSM here. At the bottom of the hill, you can turn your camera back to normal. Square boost into the trigger. This trigger is particularly low to the ground, so spam square after your square boost to ensure that you skip the Bentley animation. After the cutscene, you'll be facing like this. Run upright for a step or two and then square boost into the bell. The hitbox on this thing is really generous, but you can always just run onto the bridge and hit it normally. Dimitri will spawn, and so begins a 2-minute auto-scroller where we aren't required to do anything but follow Dimitri. We use this time to its max potential and farm coins, which we need for the Gadget Route. In this series, we'll be covering 2 Gadget Routes, both of which buy the same 7 gadgets. Trigger Bomb and Adrenaline Burst for Bentley, Turnbuckle Launch for Murray, and Smoke Bomb, Stealth Slide, Paraglider, and Alarm Clock for Sly. These last 2 gadgets are required to beat the game, while the first 5 are bought simply to save time. These gadgets are purchased throughout the run for a total of 3,750 coins. We can save over 4 minutes thanks to the additional gadgets. This is the current optimal gadget route, which we call the Super Early Smoke Bomb route. Above the timeline shows where we purchase each gadget, and below the timeline shows where we collect each treasure. This route obtains 7 treasures. 1 in episode 1, 2 in episode 2, another in episode 3, 2 in episode 5, and the final treasure in episode 7. Here are the specific treasure and buy locations for Super Early Smoke Bomb. We'll discuss all this in greater detail at relevant points. Throughout the run, you should aim to meet certain coin thresholds at certain points to know you are on pace to buy everything at the proper time, which are listed here. Note that in between some of these listed segments, we will be buying gadgets and selling treasures, so our coin total will go up and down rapidly at points. So this doesn't represent the rate of coin collection, and instead shows what your coin total at the top right of the screen should be. We will continue to revisit this table throughout the series. This route is pretty advanced, as optimal coin farming is quite skillful, so for beginners we recommend an alternative route which provides more leeway on coin collection. This route is called Early Stealth Slide, but the name is irrelevant for our purposes and is actually a bit confusing in this context, so we're just going to call it Late Smoke Bomb for this tutorial. This route does not buy Smoke Bomb for the heart of the run, but can optionally buy it at the end of episode 7 with excess coins when we purchase Alarm Clock. Although not having Smoke Bomb up to that point loses 40 seconds, the route saves 10 seconds back from only getting 1 treasure in episode 2. This results in a net time loss of 30 seconds in exchange for 51 coins of leeway compared to the optimal route. Since Late Smoke Bomb buys all the other gadgets at the same spot as optimal, this route provides an easier option while also minimizing the amount of changes required to switch to the optimal route. Here are the coin goals at certain points for Late Smoke Bomb. Like with Super Early Smoke Bomb, we will continue to discuss the coin route throughout the tutorial, and we will also provide alternatives for anything that requires Smoke Bomb. But it's recommended to transition to the optimal gadget route as soon as you feel comfortable with the coin farming required. Smoke Bomb is a great tool for safety in many jobs throughout the run.
Now it's time for some of that coin farming. In this autoscroller segment with Dimitri, our objective is to collect as many coins as possible, optimally around 150, while maintaining a certain distance from him. If we stray too far from Dimitri as he walks around Paris, we will fail the job. We will also fail the job if we are detected by any guards or if Dimitri sees us. Dimitri will stop and do a voice line if he hears us running or breaking things to collect coins, and he can also slow down or stop if a guard is in his way. These are undesirable because they lose time, but they also mess up our timing on the section, and timing is very important here. In order to prevent guards from ruining our day, we will GSM throughout the entirety of this segment. A consequence of this is that we are rarely able to look at Dimitri to see where he is and monitor our progress, so we have to rely on our movement and feel of the job to know roughly where we need to be. Because of how delicate guard spawns can be, camera angle matters at every point and follow Dimitri. The camera and movement strats we'll go over, if done properly, are 100% consistent and allow you to safely collect an optimal amount of coins. But this job is hard, so practice and perseverance are very important. Doing the Late Smoke Bomb route and farming coins and breaking and entering will give you some leeway, so you can skip a few breakables if that helps your consistency. After the animation that introduces Dimitri, glitch high jump to the road and turn your camera to face down it. Hit this bench and use your charge attack to collect the coins it drops. The charge attack increases Sly's range and also makes it a full circle around him, so it is a lot better for collecting coins than just using normal swings. Swinging and spinning for coins is done with a single square input, where you hold square to initiate the charge attack and use the normal swing at the beginning of the hold to break the object. This is the technique we'll be using throughout the run to efficiently collect coins. Depending on how the coins fall and how many there are, you can use different timings on when you release square, as delaying your spin will allow more coins to fall first. But this generally isn't necessary with just a few. From there, head up to the roof by using this bouncy awning. You can double jump up to all of these, or glitch high jump to provide more comfort. Turn your camera a bit to the left to face the water. Run backwards and double jump up to the elevated part of this roof. Farm the antenna and then fall back left to the street. If you're fast for this beginning part, there's a chance that Dimitri will be able to hear you if you run, so I do a double jump in midair to slow myself down and fall further away from him. You can see on the health bar that I'm getting the warning indicator that he's nearby. Farm these 3 objects with our camera down the street, then head back right to the bouncy awning. You can begin your jump from closer for the sake of comfort. The area around the awning is a potential point where you can fail, so do your best to get on the awning cleanly and don't approach it from a very wide angle. If you are consistently failing the job here, even with quickly getting on the awning, you're likely being too slow in the earlier movement. When going up to the roof, turn your camera further left so you're facing more directly into the water. This is to prevent a guard from spawning in the street that is currently behind the camera. Farm the roof and then head back right to run off. Spam triangle to spiral dive onto some flower pots on the ground, but be careful to avoid the awning. Turn your camera to look down the street for farming it. When entering the plaza, you want to begin turning your camera to the left so that we can transition around the corner into looking down the next street. It's very important to keep the camera away from the center of the plaza. We will take this route through the plaza, beginning at the top of this image and ending on the right. The white numbers represent where your camera should be aimed, and the numbers along Sly's line represent when the camera should be turned in that direction. The purple line represents Dimitri's path. Here we have an edited representation of the plaza section and Sly's route relative to Dimitri's. Our pace is important to keep up with him, but we have plenty of time to get all the coins as long as we farm efficiently. It isn't possible to go too fast in this section when farming all of the objects in the route, so Dimitri's danger would only come from going too slow or veering off the route. And here's the farming route for the plaza in gameplay form. Take special note of the camera angles, as a small guard likes to spawn in the nightclub's entryway, which would result in disaster. When looking down the 3 different roads surrounding this plaza during this sequence, you should see flashlight guards spawning. Guards which spawn away from Sly or Dimitri's path are good things, because the game wants and needs to spawn guards. So we are not trying to prevent any guards from spawning, we are trying to prevent dangerous guards from spawning. Part of ensuring that happens is getting safe guards to spawn. The game will continue to look to spawn flashlight guards until there are 2 on the map, so if we see 2, we know that the game is satisfied and won't spawn more for the time being. The game will despawn flashlight guards which are off screen, and then attempt to respawn them until the count returns to 2, so our camera management needs to be constant. From the entryway, head right to this bench and the ashtray next to it. You can look at the fountain here. This ashtray can take a few hits and drops coins each time, so stand where your cane will hit both and do a spin to get the bench coins that will also hit the ashtray repeatedly. Then spin through the coins and head to this bench beside the safe house. Run back and turn with the road and jump to the roof. This is a delicate spot for the camera, it can get stuck, so be careful. Farm this antenna and head to the right and off the roof, keeping your camera pointed back in this direction. Be careful coming off this roof because Dimitri is behind the camera to the right, so we don't want to get too close. Glitch high jump up to the roof after this table. By not moving toward the building until you have enough height, you can make this jump ledgeless. Keep the camera backward and head along the roof. If a guard spawns dangerously near the table or in the street, we can just take this rope across and skip the table if we need to. Try to jump directly over the rope and attach, as Sly can sometimes attach to this pipe across the street instead, which can put you right in front of Dimitri. In the community we use the term super sneaky or super sneaky thief move to describe a circle latch to something other than what we intended. On this roof we have Dimitri in our view, so click the left stick to see his waypoint. This is important because running off this roof can result in getting spotted if he's too close. Here I'm on a really fast pace, so it's very comfortable. Skip one or both of the benches on the ground if it's unsafe, then glitch high jump up to the roof. With this glitch high jump, you'll hit the car and make noise, so don't do this if Dimitri is nearby. A silent option would be to single jump onto the car and then double jump up to the roof. Farm both of the antennas on the roof, and note how we've kept roughly the same camera angle since leaving the plaza. This next section, in which we will farm the patio, is a bit scary in terms of timing. If you go too fast with this section, it's very easy to fail, so what I like to do is just wait for Dimitri so that I can go as fast as I want. I line up Sly near the edge of this roof, right above this angle in it, and click the left stick so I can see the waypoint as a visual cue. With this camera angle, I then begin a glitch high jump backwards when Dimitri's waypoint has completely come out from behind this elevated part of the roof. Extend the glitch high jump to land on the patio, and either jump to avoid or break the table and chairs blocking you. It's important to always keep our camera away from the patio or directly at the wall when we're on it, as there are a number of spots where small guards like to spawn. The flower pots here are a little finicky, so you can practice farming these in the hub world outside of Follow Dimitri if you'd like, or it'd be safer and you can get a feel for it. From the leftmost flower pot, I run back left and square boost off the patio with my camera at this angle. Head down the stairs to farm this bench. This camera angle prevents it from getting stuck too badly on the wall, while also providing proper GSM. Turning your camera more to the right would likely spawn a guard in the area surrounding the water tower, which both Dimitri and Sly have to go through soon, so keep it aimed diagonally onto the water. After the table, I like to give Sly space off the wall so that the camera has space, and although there's a second bench in this lower section, just ignore it. Sometimes Dimitri can hear it. On the road, turn your camera to the left to look directly out on the water. Then run backwards to head between the car and the water tower. This is a very delicate section as the camera can get stuck on either the car or the tower and can swing around, and we really don't want to guard on the patio. If you've been quick with this lap around this part of the map, Dimitri will be in range to hear Sly if he runs beyond the water tower, so R1 tap past if you've been fast. Once the patio appears in your view, you can glitch high jump up. Then just repeat the patio section like before. But we have increased time pressure as the job is winding down, and we have to be back in the lower section before Dimitri reaches the door there, or we will fail the job. so feel free to skip some coins. At the end of this job, we should aim to have a coin count in the 150s, which is represented by the rightmost column in this table. The exact number of coins which drops from each breakable object is random, so numbers will vary a bit even with equivalent performance. Anything below 140 should be a cause for concern, and you should pay a bit more attention to coins until you catch up. Immediately after this job, we will collect our first treasure of the run, which is located on this balcony above the patio, Jade Vase. We can't collect this during the job, so we finish the Follow Dimitri autoscroller by doing what's called a super jump from this balcony until the lower section. Super jumping looks like this, and is done by hitting square shortly before landing on the ground, mashing X until you've double jumped, and then repeat. This allows us to move as far as we want without ever landing on the ground in the game's mind, so it never updates our grounded position. Super jumping works because the downward cane swipe from the square input prevents slide from landing on the ground until it's completed, and mashing X makes slide jump at the first moment after the cane swipe. If we then fall into water after a super jump chain, we get pulled back to the grounded position we set for ourselves, as long as we don't miss any of the super jumps. It's possible to super jump without the cane swing by jumping within a narrow window before slide lands on the ground, but the cane swing makes it far easier. This is something which we absolutely would advise to practice outside of Follow Dimitri, as it can be done anywhere and it will be far more efficient to do it in free roam. For super jumping, I do similar inputs to glitch high jumping shortly before reaching the ground, but I make sure to mash X and I do it for longer. So toward the end of Follow Dimitri, we use the super jump to optimally collect this treasure. We set our grounded position on this balcony, super jump to finish the job, and then use the water to return to the balcony to grab the treasure. I start the chain with an extended glitch high jump from the balcony with my camera facing the nightclub. This is to get past the tables and also to minimize the number of super jumps I need to do. I do 2 super jumps on the patio, and then 2 super jumps on the street below. Note how I'm moving horizontally toward the destination throughout the whole thing. You can move your camera more to the right over the course of the chain, but don't look at the lower section until you're right in front of it. This railing to the right doesn't update ground position, so we can land on that. The optimal strat is to jump into the water from the railing so that you hit it after the cutscene starts. This will warp us back to the balcony during the cutscene. You can use Dimitri's turn to his left to go to the door as an indicator, but be very careful. If you fall in the water too early here, or jump too far away from the railing, you will fail the job. Jumping here only saves a couple of seconds, so feel free to just sit on the railing until after the job, and then drop into the water. Right before Dimitri walks down the stairs, he will do a turn to look around him, so we can't leave too early to begin the super jump chain. And if we leave too late, we'll either be unable to finish the super jump chain, or we will fail the job. But we can't look at Dimitri to see when we can go, because we have to keep GSMing. Thankfully, there are a few cues you can use to indicate when to begin your super jump chain. The cue that I use is this drop in the music. Through familiarity in the job, you can develop a sense for when this drop is coming. Leaving right on the drop works perfectly and also feels super cool, but a bit after the drop is totally fine. Alternatively, you can use your live split timer or another timer to indicate when you should begin the super jump. You could begin a timer during this animation that introduces Dimitri when the green appears, and begin the super jump when this timer reaches 159. If you find that you need more time to do the super jump, you can subtract a couple of seconds from this and go a little earlier. Alternatively, you can use your segment timer, which is what Gandhi uses and what I used for a long time previously. Determine what your segment timer is typically at during the Dimitri animation, and add the 159 to that. On Korean PS3 with SSD, the time is around 238 to 240 on the segment timer. On slower versions and or hardware, it will be later. Keep in mind that if you use your segment timer, you'll need to adjust when you start your super jump if you lose extra time prior to hitting the bell. Both of these cues rely on a clean auto-scroller where Dimitri doesn't get stopped or significantly slowed, so be careful if you make a mistake and do your best to adjust. If the super jump is too hard, you can just wait on this railing or attach to this pipe for the end of the job, and then head to the treasure after the job complete screen. But keep working on super jumping because we will need it for more significant things in later episodes.
After the job complete screen, press circle to grab the treasure. You should hear the treasure attach or see it once the camera's closer. Jump from the balcony and turn the camera left to GSM and run directly backwards across the patio. If we take any damage, we'll lose the treasure and we'll have to go back and get it, so be cautious. Flashlight guards are our concern. Rooftop guards can be easily hit away or ignored. If you get spotted at any point, you can turn your camera normal again, as flashlight guards cannot spawn while you're spotted. If you don't jump into the water during Follow Dimitri and instead drop in after, you usually don't have to GSM here, as there should be small guards in the patio which you can alert so that flashlight guards won't spawn. But it'd be safer to just GSM anyways. Once in the plaza, you can turn your camera around. Glitch high jump up to a ledge grab on the railing from this slightly elevated part on the ground. There's a tree here sometimes, but the base is always here. If the tree is there, you have to curl your glitch high jump to avoid it. If this glitch high jump is difficult for you, just glitch high jump over here where the ledge is slightly lower. Then press circle to enter the safe house. For the next job, we will be playing as Murray. Because we only have to move one spot in the safe house to get from Sly to Murray, we can use a technique called Halogen Selecting, where we hold the direction after entering the safe house and mash circle in Korean or X otherwise. In this case, since we're on Sly and wanting Murray, hold right on the D-pad and mash circle or X. This is a strat we will be using a lot throughout the run to change characters, and it even works from loads, but it can only be used if we're only moving one spot in the safe house. So Bentley and Murray can't reach each other with a Halogen Select. Now let's go over the basics of playing as Murray. Murray can run, jump, punch, uppercut, and thunder flop. We'll be using all of these moves at specific times. As mentioned earlier, Murray's attacks deal twice as much damage as Sly's, which allows him to kill most guards in 2 hits. Murray has the same triangle square combo that Sly does, and it can even be used when the guard is alerted, but only with small guards. Murray can also double hit flashlight guards with square and then triangle, like we showed with Sly in breaking and entering. Double hitting small guards as Murray is counterproductive because a normal punch knocks a small guard out, and a triangle attack from Sly or Murray cannot execute if the guard is unalerted or unconscious. Murray's punch is actually really fast, but it has this animation where Murray briefly stops when he finishes lunging. Because of this, it's ultimately slower than running. But if we run off a ledge and punch as we do so, there's no animation. This allows us to get the speed boost with no punishment, and is called a punch boost. We can also punch into job triggers, as the cutscene will start before the animation plays if we punch from relatively close. But we're only going to use this a few times. This is because punching can send you in the wrong direction when Murray is spotted, since he likes to auto-target guards even from extreme distances. So, after Follow Dimitri, return Jade Vase to the safe house as Sly. You can hit this bench to drop coins for Murray. Then Halogen Select to the right. If the tree is present outside the safe house, double jump over it. Otherwise, single jump. The route to this job trigger is nearly identical to that of Satellite Sabotage, but we head down here. Run into the trigger to begin Waterpump Destruction. Once inside, we have to run for about a step to hit the cutscene, so do that upright so we're in an optimal position for afterward. Murray does not have a Benaki-com animation in Sly 2, so we don't need to worry about that. It's possible to stomp to pick up a chair as Murray enters the cutscene, which will save time on having to pick it up afterward, but this is really precise, so don't worry about it. After the cutscene, spam circle to pick up the chair and throw it at the power box with square. Hold toward the power box with the left stick after stomping, and make sure you allow Murray to turn to face the target before you press square. This applies to any object throwing section as Murray. You can run through these coins if you'd like, or directly to the next one. This one is close enough that we can just punch it through the laser fence. It takes 3 punches. Abuse iframes to finish off the box. If you miss the box on your first, you can still fit in 3 more during the iframes. Then, to get past this guard, double jump up and grab the ledge to the left of his light. Once on top, run beside the guard so that he will turn and melee us forward. This gives us a little boost and lets us abuse iframes to run through the lasers. This also attracts the attention of the rats in the next room, so they'll run towards us and we can complete the next section faster. Single jump and proceed to the rat. Pick him up with a triangle and then circle, and then throw him into the water pump. We need to throw a total of 5 guards into the water pump. Camp at the door and pick up each rat as they spawn and toss them in. The auto aim is generous, but ensure that you don't miss. Once we've thrown the 5th guard, it will take a moment before the water pump explodes. Use this time to kill the 6th guard to collect a couple coins. After this job, reset the game to skip another of Bentley's slideshows, just like before.
After the reset, mash circle and Korean or X otherwise to select Murray again. Since we played as Murray at our last save point at the end of the last job, we're hovering him and don't need to Halogen select. The movement here begins the same as Waterpump Destruction, but then we head this way toward the patio. Single jump onto the car's roof and then again onto the railing. Run to the job trigger navigating between the tables like this. Before the end of the cutscene, begin holding circle to immediately pick up the chair and toss it at the alarm horn. Do the same for the table, then run to the plant to finish off the alarm. Single jump forward and fall through the coins on the way down. Being spotted in this job is advantageous as it will prevent flashlight guards from spawning. This should happen automatically, but on rare occasion it just doesn't. So if you run into any flashlight guards in this job, our best bet is to kill them. For this ledge, run off it and double jump, then do a full double jump up onto the railing. Head across the courtyard, single jump onto this platform, and run to the boombox. Single jump twice to hop over the gate. While in the courtyard, you want to maintain a camera angle pointed at the pillar in the far corner. This is because on the other side of that gate, there are briefcases which we will use to destroy the second alarm, and we can manipulate their spawns with our camera. This is similar in concept to how we manipulate guards. If the camera strat was done properly, you should have at least 3. If you don't have enough, or if the briefcase is broken or in a spot that's out of your way, you can also use a guard. One helpful technique in this job, particularly at the second alarm, is what's called guard attack manipulation, or GAM. Guards are unable to melee attack us from off screen, so we can abuse this by moving our camera around and preventing ourselves from being hit. It counts the same if the camera is right on top of the guard or overlapping them. This works with any character on any enemy, but only with melee attacks. The definition of melee attack is imprecise, since the dynamite thrown by the rats seems to count as one. After destroying the second alarm, take this route to the third alarm. This is another place to remind you to take optimal lines, since there usually isn't much else to worry about here. As you approach this newspaper stand for the final alarm, turn your camera around can help you aim easier. Murray's stomp radius for the newspaper stand begins about here. After the job completes, load to return to the safe house. If you're playing on PS2, it can be faster to return to the safe house on foot using this route, but this depends on your load times. Once back in the safe house, if we're doing the optimal gadget route, super early smoke bomb, we want to buy smoke bomb now. From Murray, go right to the thief net and select it, then go right to get to the selling screen. When the thief net opens, it displays a fake loading screen, but it's instantly skipped when going to the selling screen. Select the treasure to sell it, then go left to the buying screen. From here, it's down twice to get to smoke bomb, which costs 300 coins and is Sly's only gadget which is currently available. Hit circle twice if you're on Korean, or X twice if on another version, to buy it. Then on Korean, hit X to close the thief net. On other versions, hit triangle. Then go right once and select Sly. Although Bentley is here, he is not unlocked yet, so we only have to go right once. If you accidentally buy the wrong gadget, just load the game and try again. If doing the alternative route, which we recommended for beginners, late smoke bomb, we won't be buying smoke bomb until much later, so just Halogen select left to Sly from the load. Make sure Sly's exit animation has concluded, and then do an extended glitch high jump to this awning and bounce up to this roof. Typically when we bounce off something like this, and always if our objective is to go forward rather than up, it's optimal to instantly double jump because it transfers your momentum forward. Gain swing once in midair after the double jump. Run across and square boost to this roof, and then run to the job trigger. This is an example of a job that doesn't start with a Pinocchio cutscene, so there's no need to square boost into it. Like follow Dimitri, Moonlight Rendezvous is a coin farming autoscroller, but there's no GSM, stealth isn't a concern, and Neela runs. If we get too far away from her, she will stop to wait for us, which loses time, and if she waits for too long, we will fail the job. Keep an eye on her, and listen for the sounds of her running when we can, to ensure that she never stops. Neela's radius shrinks when she's waiting, and the coin route often has some separation from her, so causing her to wait is pretty scary and you want to avoid that. We fail if we hit Neela, so keep that in mind when hitting objects and collecting coins. The triangle attack cannot hit Neela. If we get too close to Neela, she will do brief pauses, which lose a little bit each time. But in any percent, this isn't much of a concern, as we will complete a route designed to collect as many coins as possible without losing much time. Optimally, we can collect around 115 to 120 coins. From the cutscene, hold R1 and forward toward these two vents. Swing and spin where we can hit both simultaneously, then move upright to head off the roof. Neela will kill a guard on the ground, and if we're quick enough to follow, we can get the coins to stay. If we're too slow, they will be sent to the roof, and we don't have time to wait for them. Swing and spin for this sign, then head to the roof and farm it like we did earlier. Then run off and spiral dive like before. Quickly spin through the coins and head forward to the wall of the safe house. Hug the wall as you go around the building so that you can remain within Neela's range. This is generally a tricky spot for beginners. A safer strat would be to just farm the roof and then follow Neela on the rope onto the roof of the safe house, but there's a lot of coins we can get on the ground, so I'd suggest just grinding this out. On this roof you can run forward to drop down and then farm this table. This table is at a bit of an awkward angle and we need to be fast. Value keeping up with Neela over the coins we get from this one table. Head backward and run along this building, which Neela's on top of. There's a point here where she can easily lose you if you're careless or slow. If she stops moving, quickly glitch high jump to the roof and run at her. If you're consistently causing her to stop here, just cut out the table for now. Then farm this other table and run toward the water to pass Neela. Farm this bench and then head up to the roof with the far bouncy awning. You can beat Neela to this elevated section with the antenna to farm it, but do this with a triangle attack to be safe. Then go to the next elevated section and square boost to the ground toward these vases that we spiral dove onto earlier. For a safer route, run forward and then left off the building, which keeps you closer to Neela for longer. Then head along the same path we took and follow Dimitri. For this plaza section, we need to be on a good pace to comfortably farm everything, as we are spin attacking and swinging at stuff. This might be difficult for beginners, but it really isn't too bad. Your goal in the plaza is to just farm the corner and its coins, and then destroy the plants and the sign without hitting Neela. After that, you can see where she is and just avoid her while you get the rest of the coins. If needed, use the triangle attack to safely destroy objects. Follow Neela under the bouncy awning and up to the roof. Sometimes this awning won't bounce you if you land on it a certain way, so just manually double jump to the roof if that happens. Neela will then hit this chimney thing once. This takes 2 hits and drops coins for each one, but only slice hits will drop coins. If we're really fast, we can win the race and uppercut it twice to drop more coins, but just hitting it once and collecting them is perfectly fine. Farm this other object and head across the bridge. Farm this vent and the right antenna. The other objects on this roof don't drop coins. Head to the corner and make sure you wait here until Neela's just about to move on to that bridge. Then we have 2 options. Option 1 jumps to this rope, farms these 2 flower pots, and then goes down with Neela to the ground. Option 2 goes to the street and farms these 3 flower pots beside this door. This route has 1 more object, but it's a bit scarier. Be careful to not sit here for too long trying to get coins. Then head through the tunnel. On good pace you can pass Neela. If we beat Neela to the briefcases, we can break them for coins. Either be really careful with your cane or just use the triangle attack, since Neela's behind us. Collect the coins and glitch high jump over the gate to enter the courtyard. Keep in mind that a glitch high jump has a built-in cane swing, so be wary of Neela if she's still in the car or nearby. Run onto this platform and swing and spin for this bottle behind the pillar. Then either spin attack or spiral dive to destroy these next 2 bottles. Doing this is important because you can't destroy both of them at once with a normal cane swing. Then swing and spin for the coins and again for the flower pot. If you're fast here, you can fit in 1 extra briefcase over here to the right, but don't be too late to hit the end trigger when Neela finishes her route to the front of the disco. This trigger is huge, but if Neela loses you before reaching the end, you'd have to run a lot closer to her before she'd move again. At the end of this auto-scroller, you should aim to have a coin total in the 210s if you're on the super early smoke bomb route. If you find yourself well below 200 due to low coin collection in this job and follow Dimitri, we'd recommend the late smoke bomb route to take advantage of the leeway until your coin farming improves. The late smoke bomb route would aim to have a coin total in the 260s here, since it hasn't yet sold the treasure or bought anything. Next up is theater pickpocketing, and we'll just run there from here. From the job complete, hold back and slightly left. Square boost on this platform and then run off the other side. Glitch high jump over the fence to head right. Hit this guard from behind or beside him to knock him out. We do this often for guards when we can easily just run away afterward. After the corner, square boost onto the hood of this car, double jump up to the railing, and immediately square boost to hit the trigger from underneath. Alternatively, you can double jump cane swing under the balcony. If we have smoke bomb, we are going to perform a cutscene skip with it after this load. First, hold down the PS button as soon as the Sly logo has faded out from the hub world. Continue holding it until the PS menu comes up, which will be immediately when the load completes. Hit circle to exit the menu. Sly should enter the theater and stop when animation completes. Immediately in front of Sly here, there is a cutscene which he normally has about a 50-50 chance of entering on his own during that first animation. But if we have the PS menu buffered from the load, we can make him stop early 100% of the time. This is required in order to be able to skip the cutscene. Equip Smoke Bomb by pressing Select, then the button you'd like to equip Smoke Bomb to. The options are R2, L2, or L1, but we'd recommend R2. This is because L1 is generally considered ideal for Stealth Slide, which we will get later, and a cutscene skip in Episode 8 will combine the use of both of these gadgets, so it's better to divide them to separate sides of the controller. We can't move further into the theater at all since that will put us in the cutscene. After waiting for the guard to take a step or two, use Smoke Bomb. This will get the guard's attention and he'll start running over. There's a few seconds after using Smoke Bomb where guards can still detect it, so even though the guard may be out of range right when you use Smoke Bomb, he will enter the range and then come running over. Then walk to this corner and walk into the wall on the right side of this pillar, so we can get as far away from the guard as possible. Once the guard's light passes the pillar visible on the left, use Smoke Bomb again to lure him closer to the door. Once the guard is in position, we're going to Stealth Slam him. Because of the Smoke Bomb, he can't see us, but this won't last forever, so we need to be relatively quick. We need to be close enough to the guard to actually Stealth Slam him, but if we're too close, we'll hit the cutscene trigger. With your Stealth Slam, be careful to not hit square until you see the triangle hit connect, because if you miss the triangle swing, you could accidentally hit the guard normally with square. After the triangle input of the Stealth Slam, move a bit to the right to move away from the cutscene trigger. This will keep us from accidentally hitting the cutscene with the slam animation. The guard will follow us in midair as long as we don't move too far too fast. Then hit square to slam the guard and run left into the cutscene trigger. The cutscene will be triggered right before the job fails due to a dead key guard, which allows us to skip the cutscene. Here's the skip in full. Note the free coins. Mash X through the job fail screen to immediately close it. Using X is a good habit to have due to a skip later, where spamming circle is disastrous. If you miss this cutscene skip, the guard will likely be right in your face after the cutscene finishes. Smoke Bomb and then double jump over him to stand behind. This is a general backup for pickpocketing the guard who has spotted us. Smoke Bomb is really overpowered, but it's also very expensive in terms of its gadget meter usage, also known as juice. From full meter, you can use 3 Smoke Bombs before you won't have enough for another. Health drops, which in the community we call healthers, replenish the meter. If you don't have Smoke Bomb, just watch the cutscene. Sometimes you will automatically enter the cutscene, and sometimes you'll have to move forward, but never do the PS menu strat. After the reload or the cutscene, run forward and hit this first chair with a triangle attack to lure the guard over. Triangle makes it so we don't accidentally hit anything else. Then run around the first 2 tables. Switch to R1 tapping once we get to the second. Pickpocket the guard by mashing circle. In rare instances where the chair doesn't work to alert the guard, uppercut the table. In this case, you'd then have to take a wider angle around, as the guard won't be lured as far. Guards have a kind of small zone to either side of them in this game where they will automatically detect you if you stand in it. This makes it seem unfair because you weren't in the light or touching the guard, but it's a consistent thing, so be careful to not enter this area during stealth situations. The guards in theater pickpocketing will always have 2 or 3 clumps of coins before their key, and it's random whether it's 2 or 3. After pickpocketing this guard, if you did the cutscene skip, hit the objects in the way, single jump off the balcony, and fall normally. If you did everything properly, the guard will turn and detect you, but his shot will miss. Be wary of the spotlights in this room, both while mid-air and on the ground. Run on the lower level and single jump to behind this guard. When picking the pocket of a moving guard, R1 tap to follow him when he gets outside pickpocketing range. Sly can attempt to pickpocket even if he's not close enough to actually do it, so you have to monitor the distance. It is random when and for how long these guards stop, so we need to be able to adapt a bit. Coin Clump RNG also adds to this variability. After the second key, head left across the center of the room toward the third guard. We can run on the upper part, but as soon as we drop to the lower floor, switch to R1 tapping until the health bar warning and the sneaking sound go away. Running on the lower level will cause the second guard to run around the room like a crazy person, and will keep us from pickpocketing the third guard. Stick right at the spotlight and jump behind this guard. Use the same backup as missing the cutscene skip if you get spotted. But if you don't have Gadget Meter or don't have Smoke Bomb, just climb one of these pipes to a platform and wait it out. Getting spotted in this job is really bad, so do your best to avoid that. If you did not do the cutscene skip, hit the first guard after looting him, then run and square boost off the balcony to land on this table. If you are on Korean and got both the fast cutscene entry and only 2 clumps of coins, double jump to fall onto the table instead of square boosting, because the spotlight will be over this table for a moment. Don't do a second cane swipe, since it can break the table and make noise. The rest of the room is pretty much the same as with the cutscene skip, but the spotlights are in a slightly different spot. The non-CSS cycles are a couple seconds later in the rotation than the cycles with the CSS, which makes them quite a bit friendlier. You'll gain familiarity with where they'll be just from practicing. After the third guard, run between the curtains and to the right. Single jump onto this ledge. There's a key guard above us, and we can get there from this thin wall, which we can land on with a double jump. Then glitch high jump backward to the rafters. We suggest turning the camera so that the double jump is forward. When you land on the thin wall, you want to go neutral on the left stick, which means to not hold any directions. You can also glitch high jump and cut back immediately after landing on the wall, but this is pretty advanced. With this camera angle, you won't be able to see once you get up there. R1 tap to the right to get close enough to the guard, beyond the dividing line in the center of the platform, and then mash circle to pickpocket. The camera fixes itself after a couple seconds. If you're not hearing coins being collected, it means you're too far, so just move closer to the guard. A faster way to collect the fourth key is with the same jump, but without the setup and the camera turn. This makes the double jump more difficult, but it also allows you to see when you're behind the guard. The optimal way to get to the rafters is with a glitch high jump from atop this box to the top of the thin wall, but this is generally not used compared to the first or second option. After the fourth guard, run back to fall off and switch to holding up midair to start moving forward. And here are the final 2 guards. The left guard goes up and down the stairs while the right guard goes back and forth in this lower section. Depending on how the rest of the job went and also the frequency and length of each guard's random stops and starts, these 2 guards could be in various different spots. For this section, we have to be able to adapt to the situation and make decisions based on what the game presents us. So practice is very important for this job as you learn to deal with different situations and combinations. We recommend always going to the lower guard first, as it is pretty much always the faster and or safer option. With some really bad cycles, you might have to wait a few seconds to let the guards move. Use your best judgment in this section and stay safe, because getting spotted before having all of the keys is ultimately the worst thing that can happen. In a situation where the right lower guard is walking toward us and he isn't totally back in the corner, go to the right and jump over this table. Don't square boost, it will break the objects and make noise. Then R1 tap to pick his pocket. If he is instead walking away, approach him with a square boost, if you have enough distance, as a square boost lets you approach him at running speed without making noise. After the lower guard, if the stairs guard is now moving up, getting behind him should be pretty simple. But you'll sometimes have to wait if you're fast and don't get lucky with the guard movement. Use these rail walks to jump higher easier. I wouldn't recommend glitch high jumping in this area, as it's very awkward and can also make noise. You can glitch high jump safely from this right rail walk if you're all the way on the right side of it, but a double jump can make it up to the stairs toward the left. If you've been slower and the stair guard is instead heading down, or he is all the way at the top, glitch high jump from this thing up to the light and then get behind him. This jump can also be used as a backup to escape after alerting a guard. Moving guards in this game are affected by Sly's positioning when he's behind them, where they'll face a bit more away from him, and this can make them steer off their path. With the lower guard, this can be dangerous as it's fairly easy to get him stuck on this thing.
Wait, why is he doing that?
And then he will swing around and see you.
Dude, I knew it! Why would he walk into that corner?
To avoid this, you'd want to be more to the right of the guard, so you're directing him to shift toward his left, or just try to get the key quickly. If you accidentally make noise behind a guard, you can try to double jump behind to avoid him seeing you when they turn. In very niche circumstances, this can save time, but just pickpocket the guards normally. After pickpocketing the final guard, stealth loses a lot of its value, but avoid putting yourself in a position where you can actually be hit. Make your way to the fan controls and spam circle to interact with them. After the cutscene, hold back left, square boost, and then jump around the corner to this platform. Optimally, this jump would be another square boost, but the angle makes it difficult, and it's risky because you'll fall to the floor if you miss it. Most runners double jump here. A single jump is just barely enough to make this gap, but it saves very little and requires good timing and angle to avoid ledge grabbing. From the edge of the platform, do an extended glitch high jump to the second fan. This almost always has a ledge grab. Then do another glitch high jump to the chandelier. If you happen to fall to the theater floor at any point at the end, we can use what's called the Christmas Miracle backup. Glitch high jump from here, holding neutral to start, and move forward to a ledge grab on the edge of the platform. The glitch high jump to the fan can be a struggle for beginners, so if you're having big problems, you can double jump or glitch high jump cleanly to the right fan and then to the left. But be careful with this, as the changes in direction can make it easier to fall off the fan. Once you're on the chandelier, run for a bit and press circle. Don't press circle too soon, because Sly will try to grab the pipe suspending the chandelier. This completes the job. Load the game after it.
Before Disco Demolitions, we need to buy Trigger Bomb for Bentley. Both routes we're covering buy Trigger Bomb here. It's the top gadget in ThiefNet at 200 coins, and we automatically select that when entering. And since the ThiefNet loading screen is completely fake, we can just enter and select twice to buy Trigger Bomb blindly through the loading screen. This might seem scary, but it really isn't at all. After the load, go left twice to the laptop and then press circle on Korean or X otherwise 3 times. Notice how the sounds indicate the Trigger Bomb buy, which needs a second input to confirm. If you mash circle or X, you'll hear a buzzing sound that will confirm you bought the gadget and are trying to buy the next one but you don't have enough coins. Then hit X on Korean or triangle otherwise to exit the ThiefNet. Go right once and confirm again. If done properly, we're outside the safe house's Bentley and we have Trigger Bomb. Since we're playing as Bentley for the first time, let's go over his mechanics. In base movement, he's the same, but he's slower. He also has a square attack, but it does very little damage. Bentley's Binocicom doesn't have an animation, so we can use this to quickscope by pointing the camera at a guard and then pressing R3, R1, and R3 again to quickly shoot a sleep dart. The second R3 input, which closes the Binocicom, can also be any of the face buttons. Bentley can also drop bombs with triangle. Like mid-air cane swings with Sly, dropping bombs mid-air causes Bentley to fall faster, so we'll do this a lot. This can be done by just spamming triangle, but if Bentley lands on the ground during a bomb animation, we will be stuck here for a moment while the animation finishes. Bentley can also do what's called a bomb boost by pressing triangle and X on the same frame, and it has a similar effect to a square boost where Bentley's momentum is preserved into a jump, but they seem to have some minor inconsistency. Also, since pressing X and triangle at the same time basically requires the use of 2 fingers, you have to get used to syncing 2 separate fingers. Most runners bomb boost in a claw grip with the right index finger on triangle. To use Trigger Bomb, press the button bound to Trigger Bomb, which can be either L1, L2, or R2, aim it with left stick, then press the button again to throw it. You can press triangle or circle while aiming the Trigger Bomb to cancel it. Once it's thrown, press the button again to detonate. Trigger Bomb doesn't use Gadget Meter, or Juice, but we can only ever have one in existence. Trigger Bomb will detonate automatically when Bentley gets far enough away from it. Hitting a bomb or Trigger Bomb that we've placed will cause it to detonate. Bombs generally deal 50% of Bentley's health in damage. We'll discuss the exception later. And finally, with a normal bomb, if we hit while it's still falling in midair, we will push the bomb and cause it to roll. Rolling bomb can sometimes happen on accident when trying to hit a bomb to explode it, but optimally we'll abuse this in the next job. Once a bomb has entered this rolling state, we can't hit it again to try to explode it. After buying Trigger Bomb and selecting Bentley blindly, double jump over the tree and drop 1 bomb. If you drop the bombs quickly enough after the double jump, you can get away with 2. Run along a similar path that we took to silence the alarms. Single jump onto the hood of this car, then double jump up to the patio. Run straight across, hitting the objects in our way, aiming for this leftmost plant on the far side. Single jump over the railing and quickly drop 2 bombs. Right after the second triangle input, press select to open the gadget menu to equip Trigger Bomb. You need to release R1 to open the gadget menu, which is why we do it in midair since we don't have to run. In the gadget grid, press either L1, L2, or R2 to equip Trigger Bomb to that button. You can use whichever button you prefer, but keep in mind that we will also be getting Adrenaline Burst later, and we'll use that a lot more often, so you may want to save your favorite button for that. Then head this way and do an extended double jump around the corner onto the ledge. Then single jump up and run into the trigger. After the load, we spawn in the disco, which is blocked by 2 laser fences. There are 2 methods to get past, the rolling bomb strat, which is optimal, and an easier alternative which will use Trigger Bomb. Afterward, there's a cutscene which we can skip by dying into it. In skipping the cutscene, we still have to do these 2 laser fences again. In English, or any of the non-Korean languages, this skip saves about 4 seconds with the alternative strat, and it's pretty easy, so we recommend everyone on those languages do the cutscene skip. But on Korean, the cutscene skip saves less than 2 seconds if you don't do rolling bomb, so any mistake would result in it losing time to just watching the cutscene. So feel free to just watch it. The skip still only saves 2.7 on Korean with Rolling Bomb, which is pretty advanced. Both strats begin by running towards this fence and dropping a bomb. Move around it, turn back, and hit it. This destroys the fence and pushes us forward. Since we have to move past the bomb, be sure to not place it too close to the fence. For the optimal Rolling Bomb strats, run into this guard's light, do a single jump, and then drop a bomb mid-air. Hit it so that it rolls towards the fence, but be careful not to hit the guard. Upon landing, quickscope the guard. All of this needs to be done really fast, as the guard will begin to attack you when your iframes from the bomb hit are gone. Wait for the bomb to explode, and be careful to not enter its radius. Jump and drop a bomb at the top of the stairs, then move past it, turn, and hit it. The bomb will kill you and also push you into the cutscene, which will skip it. Make sure the bomb isn't too far forward, or you may accidentally run into the cutscene. Also, ensure that you don't have iframes before hitting the bomb. For the alternative strats without Rolling Bomb, run toward the guard after the first fence and shoot him. Pull out a trigger bomb and hold down on the left stick to make sure it doesn't hit the ceiling. Throw it at the fence and immediately detonate it. Then die and get pushed into the cutscene in the same way as Rolling Bomb. If you aren't doing the skip, just run into the cutscene trigger. After the reload for either cutscene skip strat, do the same thing again, except for the death. When the player dies, including when you do this cutscene skip, the game activates a mechanic called Noob Mode. Noob Mode is a form of dynamic difficulty where the game adjusts things after a player has died in order to make it easier for them. In Sly 2, this is relevant for speedrunners in the form of two things: how much damage you take and the speed of boss attacks. The former is relevant in Disco because although Bentley dies in 2 bomb hits with each dealing half health, he will need 3 to die with Noob Mode, as the bomb will deal slightly less than half. This decrease applies to any attack, and it would decrease by more with repeated deaths, as Noob Mode escalates when the player dies even with it. So in this job, dying without getting the cutscene skip would respawn you at the beginning with no progress made, and because of Noob Mode, this second attempt isn't really worth it, so just watch the cutscene in this case. In Korean, it would even lose time to skip it at that point. Noob Mode is a mechanic throughout the game, but it will reset to normal quickly as long as you don't continue to die a lot. But be cautious of it in practice, as you can quite easily ruin a practice file with Noob Mode by dying repeatedly to replay sections, and then saving or letting the game autosave. Once we're beyond the cutscene trigger, there are 4 support beams we need to blow up. For each one, there's a short cutscene that plays when it's destroyed. By using Trigger Bomb, we can blow up 2 within a short time so that their cutscenes overlap and we only have to watch 2 instead of 4. Start by throwing a trigger bomb at the first support beam by aiming Bentley toward it and double tapping your trigger bomb button. You can throw from about here, then jump down and run up this ramp. Optimally, you would double jump for this corner and do another rolling bomb toward the next pillar, then quickly shoot the guard and run toward the pillar. This will bring us outside the radius of the trigger bomb we threw, which will automatically detonate it and begin the cutscene. Our rolling bomb will explode shortly after, and the 2 cutscenes will overlap. Alternatively, you can shoot the guard from here and then jump and drop a bomb at the second support beam. The trigger bomb will automatically detonate just like with the other method, but you need to make sure you jump and drop a bomb so that we can move out of the trigger bomb's radius while we drop the normal bomb. It's recommended to also do this jump and then bomb technique after the optimal strat to provide a backup in case the rolling bomb misses. Bentley is immune during the cutscenes in this job, so don't worry about getting damaged during them. Then, double jump around the laser gate to the bridge and shoot the first guard before he spots you. If the second guard is alerted, shoot him also. Dying in this job is really bad as there's no checkpoints, so be careful. You won't have to watch or skip the cutscene again, but you'll have to deal with both laser fences in the first hall and all the pillars. Run to about here with Bentley facing the third support beam and throw a trigger bomb. Then head right and hop up here. Double jump to this sign and then double jump and spam triangle at the last support beam. Like before, the trigger bomb will automatically detonate on the third beam, and our bombs dropped on the fourth will detonate during the cutscene. You can also bomb boost to this final support beam, but this is risky and not recommended. If you fall down during this section, there's a precise backup we can use to avoid running all the way back around. Get up to this top platform and then double jump at this part of the railing where the pillar is. I find it easiest when I stand about here and start with a neutral jump like this. Running all the way back around is pretty slow, so you should do this backup even if it takes you a few tries. That brings us to the end of the job. After the autosave and the job complete screen, reset the game.
After the reset, mash from the load to select Bentley again for the operation. Run down the ramp and left to the trigger. After this short cutscene, run forward and take this route to the rats in front of the water tower. For the rats, it's optimal and easiest to do just run strats because you just run and let Murray deal with them. There are other variations to this strat, but this has been the most consistent one for us. Run in between the two rats, and then while between them, cut to the right diagonally. Murray should beat them up while you jump up to the top of the water tower. Then drop down the front of the water tower, and double jump to land in this entrance. Murray needs to defeat both rats and then get in position on his own, which will trigger the next part of this section. We can tell that the trigger is completed if Murray is talking and if the scrolling text on the top of the screen is there. Then face away from the entrance and drop a bomb. Position Bentley toward the entrance from the bomb and hit it. If done properly, the entrance will be open and Bentley will be pushed inside. With a really clean setup on the bomb, it's possible to knock yourself straight to the loading zone and skip the small animation where he enters it. If Murray isn't talking and the scrolling text isn't there, drop down and run around where Murray should be, which should bring him over. Then return to the car and go up. The entrance cannot be broken until the Murray trigger has been completed, so don't drop a bomb without ensuring you've got it. If you mess up your bomb and take damage without the door destroying, you'll die from another bomb, so just drop one and do a loop to return after it explodes. There's also a way to jump out of the bomb's range and then double jump back, but this requires good timing and is an unnecessary risk to take for a backup. Once inside the water tower, we have to turn all of these dials once each time. Follow this route and press circle in front of the Bentley icon for each one. Then we have to pickpocket a key from this flashlight guard, but we have to get past two rats first. Square boost down from the roof, then run toward the guards. Square boost to approach the first rat, then hit him on the ground toward the right. Run and hit the second rat, then run and double jump over the flashlight guard to land behind him. Delay the double jump for safety. The flashlight guard will turn to see what's happening so we can land safely behind him and pickpocket his key while the rats are unconscious. He always has one clump of coins. If you're spotted in the pickpocketing section, you can just use smoke bomb if you have it, but if you don't, glitch high jump on top of this platform and wait for the guards to lose you. When trying to get away from the flashlight guard, be careful to not glitch high jump right next to him, as a cane swing will trigger the guard's reflex attack and another shot, which can prevent you from getting to where you want. After the key, the camera will be facing forward toward the guard, so just press square immediately to knock him out. If you get to the bench cleanly, you can farm it, since we have a moment to spare while Bentley and Murray run over. Then we switch to Bentley. Hold up left from the cutscene and change to forward when the camera changes. Then take this route toward the repair truck. There's a vase you can break on the way, as Murray can run through coins for you. Single jump on top of the car and then double jump to the patio. Hit the objects in your way and single jump off with 2 bombs. Run to the truck. Then Sly has to climb the Peacock. We can skip all of the climbing required by glitch high jumping up to this overhang and then again to land on top of this part that sticks out. On the second glitch high jump, don't move close to the Peacock until your third jump, or else your charge attack can activate on the side of the Peacock. Then move just a touch and do an extended glitch high jump to above this light bulb. This will zip us right to the top of the Peacock. The community calls this cock strats. For beginners, we'd suggest hesitating briefly between each glitch high jump, as accidentally hitting square in midair will cause Sly to slip off and fall to the ground, and doing so is a common mistake for newer runners with back-to-back glitch high jumps. After the cutscene, we'll gain control of the truck harpoon, so hold either up left or down left depending on your turret controls. Aiming these harpoons is awful and unintuitive, but the shot should connect to Sly if you overlap the left hook with the stripe on the Peacock's nose and have the center hook even with Sly's height. Then a number of rats will spawn, and we have to defend the truck. 3 rats initially spawn, with 2 of them to the Peacock's right and the other on the far side of the plaza to the Peacock's left. The rats will run toward the truck and attempt to destroy it, but if Sly is near them, they can switch to fighting him. When rats die, new ones will spawn to replace them to return the number of rats to 3. After the 9th rat has spawned, who always comes from the far side of the plaza, they'll stop spawning, and defeating the remaining rats will end the fight. Use the double hit technique we discussed in Breaking and Entering, particularly against the buildings, as we can control the rats much better this way and contain them within an area. But sometimes hitting rats into the open is also fine, as we need to make sure we're consistently damaging them. Try to direct rats toward areas where you can also target other rats, either at the same time or after you deal with the current one. You don't want to find yourself running back and forth across the plaza fighting different rats at the same time. These rats move around very erratically, which makes them a bit unpredictable and difficult to hit. Rats also run around weirdly when you have iframes from being damaged. as they can't attack you during that period. There's an innate variability to the rat fight where each one feels different and should be played slightly differently. The rat fight is a scenario where you have to be able to read and respond to situations. Start by running off the side of the Peacock, since Sly isn't actually attached to the point, and target the rat closest to the safe house. Direct him toward the truck so you can be there to fight the other rat afterward. You can also farm this bench and ashtray before heading to the rat. This is less optimal, but the coins and allowing the rats to travel some on their own minimizes how much this matters. This fight is really hard and takes a lot of practice to master. Getting damaged does not doom a rat fight, but whatever our health is at, when this section concludes, will carry over to the Dimitri boss fight. The rats and nearby objects will drop health if you need it. Usually there will also be coins you can swing through for free without going out of your way. The rats have special rules compared to normal guards, so they cannot be knocked out by Sly, but they can be knocked out by other rats, which allows you to stealth slam them or juggle them, and then drop them into a normal square swing. The juggle deals a normal amount of damage, but it can't execute. We also need to protect the truck, so don't leave it unattended for too long if there's a rat near it. It takes 5 hits for the truck to die. Sometimes a rat can double hit the truck randomly, which can quickly put you in a scary situation. Sly can't hurt the truck, but the rat's get up attack after being knocked back does damage it. After the final rat is defeated, we'll enter the longest cutscene in this episode, which leads up to the Dimitri fight. If in a full game run you need a snack or a bathroom break, now would be a good time to do it, as this is the longest cutscene until after we finish episode 3. In the description you can find a link to the list of the longest cutscenes in the game for the purpose of breaks. After the cutscene, Sly will spawn over here, and Dimitri will be at the far corner of the room. Dimitri will begin attacking Sly after a few seconds, using his ranged attack from his ring. After 3 shots, Dimitri's ring will jam, but this isn't relevant for us as he will also stop shooting if we get close to him. From the cutscene, hold forward and run toward Dimitri. As he's charging his ranged shot, switch to R1 tapping and tank the damage. Then run for a bit and approach Dimitri with R1 tapping to hit him at an angle up the ramp. This movement allows you to begin the fight with a stealth hit on Dimitri, which causes him to get knocked back in a single hit. Usually, it requires 4 hits for Dimitri to be knocked back. There is another set of movements that accomplishes the same thing, but they practically break even in terms of speed, and the R1 tap method is a bit easier. In close range, Dimitri has 2 attacks, and he'll select one of these randomly each time he goes to attack. His spin can be dodged by jumping, and his lunge can be sidestepped. Damage is dealt to Dimitri each time he is knocked back. Dimitri has a get-up attack with a large hitbox that lasts for a misleading amount of time. This get-up attack is the most dangerous one for speedrunners because of its damage, but also because Dimitri can't attack you while you have iframes, so he'll just run around like an idiot, which makes it way harder for you to hit him, so you have to be patient. Once Dimitri's been knocked back for the 3rd time, he will attempt to warp across the room. This room is invisibly divided into quadrants, and Dimitri will travel to the one diagonally across from his current one. After Dimitri warps, another 3 knockdowns will cause him to warp again. After 9 total knockdowns, he will be defeated. With Smoke Bomb, we can completely break this fight. Hitting him a single time while shrouded in smoke will immediately knock him down, instead of the normal 4 hits, in the same way that the starting movement could. If this is done in the middle of Dimitri's dash animation with a triangle attack, it will cancel the warp that is supposed to come right afterward. So with Smoke Bomb, we are able to hit Dimitri fewer times and also prevent him from warping, saving over 10 seconds in the fight. Although instantly knocking down Dimitri can be done with square or triangle, doing this to cancel the dash only works with triangle. For this reason, I'd personally recommend using the triangle attack for every hit in the Dimitri fight with Smoke Bomb, just for the sake of simplicity. But one downside of this is that it increases your need to position and aim Sly, so alternatively you can use square for all of them except the dash cancels. With Smoke Bomb, do the starting movement that causes a stealth attack on Dimitri, as it allows you to direct Dimitri's positioning better. The first step is trying to get him through the goalposts formed by the beams behind him. Then, fight Dimitri normally for 2 more knockdowns. Be steady and patient because we want to control him and try to get him to end up against the wall. Feel free to delay a swing until you have a better angle. Release R1 during this normal combat, as running will just mess with Sly's auto-targeting, which makes hitting Dimitri easier. After we've knocked him down for the 3rd time, Dimitri will attempt to do his warp across the room. After he lands on the ground, Smoke Bomb, and then uppercut him while he's in the dash animation. If you're too early to move in on Dimitri, you'll get hit by the get up attack, which will let him get away. If you're too late, he might also get away, or he'll push you along for a bit and mess up the setup you've tried to develop against the wall. If timed right and angled well, Dimitri will just knock back against the wall and remain in the same area. This knockback to cancel the warp counts as the first of the second set of 3. If Dimitri is near enough the smoke bomb, we can knock him back again before the smoke bomb is dissipated. This is now 2 knockbacks of the second set. So to review our techniques with smoke bomb, we can immediately knock down Dimitri with a single hit. If we do this with a triangle attack when he goes to dash across the room, we can cancel it. And if we contain Dimitri within our area, we can chain 2 consecutive hits with a single smoke bomb. The optimal strat uses the second hit of a smoke bomb in order to cancel one of the warps. But this means that if you fail to contain Dimitri in the area around the smoke bomb, or mess up on your timing, he will be able to warp. Consistently being able to chain consecutive hits while also containing Dimitri is hard, and the top priority is canceling both of the warps. So it's recommended instead to do an alternative strat which does an additional set of 4 normal hits for the sake of safety. Pretty much everyone should do the safer one, as a small time save isn't worth the risk of throwing the Dimitri fight if you aren't pursuing a top level time. This visualization of a horizontal timeline compares the 2 strats with smoke bomb, where the top set of actions is the optimal strat and the bottom set is the alternative. The blue lines represent the duration of each smoke bomb. While the optimal strat just repeatedly chains smoke bomb hits until the end, the alternative strat does a normal knockdown with 4 hits to trigger the second warp, so that it uses its first 2 smoke bombs to coincide with Dimitri's 2 warps. Here is that alternative strat. Notice how during Dimitri's knockback and get up animation, I back off and give plenty of breathing room. This should be applied anywhere in the Dimitri fight with smoke bomb. With either strat, be very careful with these stacks of paper and boxes, as Dimitri ending up on top of those makes the smoke bomb strats really difficult or even impossible, depending on when it happens. All runners, including those using smoke bomb, should be comfortable with the Dimitri fight without smoke bomb, since it will be helpful in the event of a mistake. Without smoke bomb, you can start the fight the same way, or optionally avoid the damage behind the barrels. Then just use normal cane swings with Dimitri, unless he causes you to jump with his spin attack, in which case you can use a downward cane swipe. When he spins, by inching yourself toward Dimitri with your jump, it's possible to hit him twice in a single attack. Be careful that you have at least some distance from Dimitri when you begin your jump, as Sly can get caught on him in midair if you jump from a very close proximity, which will likely get you hit. After we've knocked him back for the 3rd time, begin running to the quadrant of the room diagonally across from where Dimitri is. This gives us a head start toward following him to the next location, but don't cross over the center of the room before he moves. If Sly's in Dimitri's destination quadrant already, he will just go to a different one. Run at Dimitri and repeat for 3 more knockbacks. Never hold R1 when near Dimitri in normal combat, as Sly will automatically be in a combat stance, which can both move quickly and auto-target Dimitri. After the 3rd knockback since Dimitri last warped, run to get head start on the final warp, then finish off Dimitri with another 3 knockbacks. Beating Dimitri signals the end of episode 1, so we split for the end of the operation right when we defeat him. Although operations in this game have job complete screens, we split here so that the timing matches up with an individual episode run. We will split for all operations when we trigger the final cutscene. After the job complete screen, there will be an animated outro cutscene for the episode, so we reset the game to skip it. We are able to skip all of the episode outros, but it depends on your version and hardware whether this would save time. This table gives guidance for whether you should reset for certain outros, but it's recommended to time your own resets to be sure. For operation resets on PS3, the timing is slightly different. Begin holding the PS button after you hear the bass notes, rather than just before them like you can with normal job completes. After the reset or watching the cutscene, we will be put in the episode menu, where we can continue to episode 2, which we'll do in the next part of this series. Thanks so much for watching. In the description is a link to the Sly Speedrunning Discord, which we encourage you to join for additional resources and help. And be sure to like and subscribe, and check out Ganny's links in the description. And we'll see you all next time.